Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Hearts, and today I'll be breaking down the 6-game NBA slate here in DraftKings, talking through some of my favorite early little core plays, going game by game, talking through who we should be looking at, who we should be avoiding, all that good stuff. So make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. It does really help out my channel when you hit that like button. And let's get into this breakdown. Yesterday was one of those days where I really wanted to just break my laptop in half. I mean, Seth Curry, I like, what is that rotation? I knew there was a huge chance that game was going to blow out. I originally had Sumner there, as I talked about in my video. I think he ended up with like 15. They didn't really play him at all either, which made no sense. What is Vaughn doing with that rotation? Cam Thomas, not really sure how he didn't do better. Getting all the second half run. And then the way I built my lineup was after the first few games started, all I had left who hadn't played yet was Randall, Quickly, and Keegan Murray. I really banked on the fact that either Brunson's going to play or he's going to be ruled out. And I really banked on the fact that hopefully get ruled out because I get this whole, the last game of the night, the late night hammer at very low ownership. And as you can see, I did 2% Keegan Murray, 9% Randall, Quickly was 3%. So it was looking great. Then, of course, Brunson gets ruled in. I'm screwed because I couldn't really switch off anyone. I didn't want to pay down at power forward and like pay up for Barrett at utility with Brunson back. Because if Brunson's back, it's really just you want to get to Brunson and Randall. And that's really it. So I was really screwed on my options. So I left it. And, Brunson gets ruled in. I'm like, great. Hopefully these guys do fine. Randall starts off the game 1 of 10. Quickly has 8 first half minutes. I'm like, there it is. That's great. But then Brunson gets ruled out because he gets injured, which sucks because I like Brunson, but like he got ruled out. So it's like, oh, great. Like something finally went my way for the second half. Randall picked it up. Murray did fine, but Quickly, like really 1 of 11. Let me just zoom in here for you guys. 1 of 11, 0.09% from the field. Like really, like the ball finally rolls my way and he's going to go out there and score 1 basket. 1 of 11, 3% owned. Bobby Portis smashing. He did fine. Steph Curry. I mean, the game blows out. It's just what a frustrating night last night was. So as much as I want to rant for 10 minutes about it, I'm not. Let's just get into this 6-game slate for Friday. So starting off, we have a bunch of games that are kind of rematches from the other day. So for this Atlanta-Washington game, we saw last game Trae Young have a huge game there in only 33 minutes. Shot the ball fantastic, 11 of 14 from the field. Went for 54.5 fantasy points. His price did come up, but still, once again, I think it's too cheap here in this matchup. We just saw them score, was at 142 points combined. 242 points combined. So I really like this game, once again, to target. They're pretty low owned relative to the whole slate last time. I think maybe their ownerships will go up a little bit more, but yeah, Trae Young looks pretty solid. I like DeJounte Murray a good amount. I mean, the minutes on him have been fantastic. We know he has a decent ceiling. Clint Capella, you could definitely go there. I just don't love the minutes. Now, he did get in foul trouble that last game, but still, he's kind of floating between 25 minutes at points, sometimes getting in the 30s. So he's just all over the place at that price tag. There's really no need to get to him. Hunter's price tag came up. He's just been disappointing in terms of his peripheral stats at times. I mean, we know he's a ceiling. He could definitely get you 30, 35 if he's doing very well and getting some peripheral stats, but at that price tag, it's just more like secondary options, just filler plays here if you land on these guys, like a Bogdan, a Bay, a Hunter. I mean, they're all there. Okongwu, 20-ish minutes, he'll see. I do like John Collins, once again, his value. He played 29 minutes, was decently productive, 25 fantasy points. So yeah, I think he makes for a very solid value there at 4,200. Obviously, he's a guy who gets in foul trouble, who does bad, and they'll just pull him. But yeah, he's there. And then they have given Jalen Johnson some minutes recently, but I think that's mostly due to foul trouble. But yeah, he's just an absolute dart throw. But right now, really just focusing on Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, and then maybe taking a chance on John Collins at some value. Moving on to Washington. On the Washington side, Porzingis had the huge game last game, and I think all three of them did. Porzingis went for like 60, Beal went for 45, and then Kuzma went for 51. So obviously it's the same matchup. They all look solid. No like priorities or standouts to me, but I think they're all strong secondary options if you land on one. I think I'd probably prefer Kuzma, as wild as that sounds. He's very score independent at times. Actually, I don't know. I think I prefer Porzingis still. I think he's still the safest. But yeah, I think all three are strong plays. No real standouts to me. DeLon Wright, he did start with Monte Morris back, so we'll have to keep an eye out on that because if he starts again and sees 30 minutes, I think he's a fair play at 5,400 once again. Gafford's minutes did go down 23, so he's floating in that like low to mid 20s range. You could definitely take a shot on him at that price tag. I don't love it. Morris was back, but he came off the bench, played 16 minutes, so we'll have to wait and see kind of how they approach that point guard position. If he comes off the bench again, I don't like him. If he starts, I like him a little bit more. And then obviously it would take DeLon Wright kind of out of contention. Denny off the bench played, mid low 20s. I guess you can land on him. That's really it. It's no one else I have any interest in. So yeah, it's mostly just interest for me on that Atlanta side. A little bit of interest in the Washington guys, but no real like strong priorities or like takeaways from that. Moving on to Portland and Philadelphia. Blowout risk here with actually maybe a little bit of blowout risk, but Dame Lillard's now 10-9. Coming off a game where he did okay against Boston. Obviously, the game blew out. He was doing well. Then kind of sputtered out in that second quarter, third quarter, and the game blew out. So I think Dame, once again, is a fine spin-up play. He's been doing everything for them. Grant is a decent contrarian option at 7,200. Simons might be back. If he is, it's a slight little decrease to Dame's ceiling, but still, it doesn't really affect him that much. I think it'd be more of a downgrade to a guy like Jeremy Grant. Nurkic is back, and he played 17 minutes. I'd assume maybe a few more minutes, but with him back, it really takes out the backup center plays like Wofford and Eubanks for me. Cam Reddish is 5,500. Excuse me. I don't love that price tag for him. Thibault 4,300. I mean, yeah, there's really no interest for me now with this team pretty much fully healthy besides Dame, and that's really it. Moving on to Philadelphia. On the Philadelphia side, we have Joel Embiid, James Harden. Every time, every slate, they're just great spin ups. I think I like Harden. He's been a lot more aggressive recently in terms of his offensive game, and he had a huge game last game in terms of assists, 20 assists, which was wild. But yeah, I think Dame and Harden and Embiid look fantastic. Maxey 7,500. I think that's just too pricey for me, even though he's starting. Harris's price came up, Melton's price came up. So really, right now, the interest for me is really just gonna be Harden and Embiid. I'm gonna throw Harden in for right now. Moving on to Cleveland and Miami. Cleveland side, Mitchell, Garland, Mobley, Allen. I think they're all fine plays. I don't mind taking a shot on Allen in his price tag. I think that's pretty decent there. But otherwise, these guys are more just tournament options. You don't feel great landing on any of them in this matchup just because it's a pretty gross game. So for that reason, I think they're just decent secondary options. In terms of value, not much to work with. You could take a shot on Ricky Rubio. Hope he gets close to 20 minutes or Karis LeVert. But otherwise, it's just not a lot to like from this Cleveland side. And kind of the same thing with Miami. Butler's 8,600, Bam's 8,000, Tyler's 7,400. Like, they're all fine plays. I don't mind them. Like, this game is just very gross. I don't think a lot of people are going to take people from this game. So maybe if you want guys at lower ownership, you could definitely look to this game for some guys to take away. So if you wanted to, I'd say I'd land on Victor, Tyler Hero, and Bam as kind of the three I'd be keen in on. Otherwise, not a lot of interest. Kevin Love is questionable. I actually wouldn't mind him if he does play, if he does give it a go. The minutes haven't been great on him, but he could definitely get you there in that amount of time at 4,400. So yeah, I think right now kind of focusing on Kevin Love, Victor Oladipo. Maybe I'll get to one of the three main guys. Moving on to Brooklyn and Minnesota. Brooklyn obviously rested a bunch of their guys. Their guys should be back, and they should be in line for huge minutes and a great matchup here. So Mikal Bridges is 8,200, but he's been playing close to like 40 minutes a game. He's been their main guy, shooting 20 plus times every game. So he looks pretty solid at 7,200 or 8,200. 7,300 for Dinwiddie, who should see mid 30s minutes. He's been great as well. I do like him. I like Claxton at 6,700. He is huge upside. Cam Johnson, he's fine at 66K. Just more of a contrarian play from this team because I'd rather get to the main three guys. He's kind of the main fourth guy, but he's scoring a bit at times. So yeah, that's really it. I have a lot of interest in these main three guys as of right now, just because the matchup's fantastic. Anthony Edwards looks great here in this matchup. Coming off a game which he was doing fantastic in this Philly game, but it obviously blew out, so he wasn't able to do much in that second quarter or second half before he got pulled. So just keep that in mind. He was doing great. So I like him a good amount. Gobert looks decent. Anderson's fine. Conley's fine. Reed's fine. If you land on all these guys, the standouts to me would still be Anthony Edwards at that price tag at 9,500. Moving on to Denver and San Antonio. This is one of those games where it's if you get it right, you probably take down the slate. So if you think San Antonio is able to keep it close pretty much till the fourth quarter, obviously Jokic looks fantastic. Murray looks great. Even Gordon or Porter Jr., Pope, they all look decent. It's just, do you trust if this game stays close? If you do, I'd play Jokic and Murray. If you don't, I'd fade them. On the San Antonio side, it's kind of the same thing. Like, these guys are way too priced up for this matchup. If you think it stays close, maybe I'd take a shot on a guy like Vassell coming off the bench playing decent minutes. Trey Jones, I think he's fine. I think his minutes will go up. I think he'll see closer to 30. So I think at 5,300, you could definitely take a shot on him. But they pretty much got their full team back for this game unless we get some random news. So for that reason, I just really have no interest. You just kind of hope this game stays close. If you're taking some Denver guys, then you really want that game to stay close, obviously. Then moving on to Toronto and the Lakers game. For the Toronto side, once again, I think Pascal and Van Fleet are way too cheap here for this matchup. I know that both of them haven't been doing great recently. They've had some up and down games, but they're going against the Lakers. I think it's a fantastic matchup. They both look very, very solid. Podol, Barnes, OG, they're all fine secondary options. No real strong takes or interest from me in any of these guys. I'd rather get to the main two guys who are usually, there was like a huge gap. Pascal was closer to 10K. Same thing with Van Fleet, and they've really dropped down. So I'd rather take a shot on those guys than the mid-range guys. And then Gary Trent, I guess you can land on him. I think he's coming off the bench, but he's just super, super score independent. So he's just more of a GPP play there. Boucher, playing about 15 minutes a game now. Don't love that. So yeah, right now it's just really just the main two guys for me on the Toronto side. Then moving on to the Lakers, AD should be good to go. Even at 11K, I still think that's too cheap just for his upside. So he looks pretty strong there. D'Lo is back. So it does kind of take out the interest in guys like Schroeder for me. Even Austin Reeves off the bench, who's been doing good. It's just, having a guy like D'Lo who is going to soak up a ton of usage. I don't think he'll be on a minutes limit. If he is, probably 25, 30. So for that reason, really my only interest right now for this team would probably be D'Lo, Anthony Davis. And if you want to get a little bit weirder, you could definitely land on Beasley, even though he's been god-awful this season so far for the Lakers. But yeah, that's really it. Not a ton of interest for this Lakers side. You can definitely look to like Win Yin as a kind of like a dart throw value play now that Mo Bamba's out. But they still have Hachimura. They could definitely throw in there, go a little bit smaller. So yeah, not a lot of interest for me in the Lakers side besides the guys I just mentioned. So to kind of fill out the rest of this like core lineup, I'm going to throw Harden in there. I do think I'm going to throw in Pascal and Van Fleet. I don't love, playing two guys from the same team. Actually, that's right. Let's just take one of these guys. I'm going to throw Pascal in there. I think it's a fantastic matchup. No one on the Lakers really is going to be able to guard him. I mean, Vanderbilt's a solid defender. But yeah, I think Pascal's going to be able to get his. Who else do I want to throw in here? Let's build two more. Really want to target this Brooklyn and Minnesota game. I think I'm going to throw Dinwiddie in there. And then what else do we have here? I want a piece from this game. I think I'm going to go back to John Collins for some value. So right now, I think this is kind of the route I'm leaning towards for tonight's slate. You get Dinwiddie in a fantastic matchup here against Minnesota. Should be in line for mid-30s minutes. As we can see, he has huge, huge upside in close games there. Pascal, getting a great matchup here, getting a great price tag for a guy who's been struggling recently, just in terms of overall scoring, just fantasy output. So I like him. Another guy who is huge minutes, huge shot attempts. So we know he has the upside in ceiling there. John Collins, should be in line for mid to high 20s, if not in the 30s. Just hope he stays out of foul trouble. If he does, we should be in line for at least 30 minutes, and he's a very solid value play at 4,200. And then James Harden, it's just a matchup thing, right? Like, going to be playing close to 40 minutes. He's been a lot more aggressive recently in terms of getting to the basket, scoring the ball. We know he has double-double upside with the assist. He's been rebounding a little bit better recently too. Can get you some steals. So, yeah, I think he's a very, very solid play there at 10-3 against Portland. So those are my 4 core plays as of right now. Make sure to stay updated with me on Twitter at HardDFS. Hit that like button. Check out my price picks video, which will be out after this. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.